So I got the application and I try to be real cool. And I say to the guy, I heard that it's okay if I don't have a work permit. Is that true? And he says, well, I don't know. See, I heard that I don't have to pay you minimum wage. Is that true? And I was like, yeah. And I got the job at the golf course, my first job. Real quick, by sound of applause. Do we have any golfers here tonight? All right. More than I would have liked. But they don't outnumber us, so we're good. And I say that because golfers are terrible, terrible people. And I wouldn't make such a claim as that without proof. I'm going to start telling you about my job there, and if you watch anyone near you that clapped that they were a golfer, they're going to get what I'm talking about a little bit earlier than the rest of you. And it's going to be a pleasant memory for them. I said, what do I do now, Ed? What do I do for a living? And Ed says, well, we got this ATV out here, and you get to drive it, and it's got a little trailer on it, and it's going to scoop up the golf balls while you drive it back and forth across the range. Yeah, that's hilarious, isn't it? It's already gone. I go out to the ATV, and it has a cage around it. I said, Ed, that's great. At 15, you're just excited to drive anything, but why's it got a cage around it? He said, oh, well, the range is actually in use while you're cleaning it. So occasionally, one of the balls will hit you on accident. The words occasionally and on accident are the lies in that sentence. Those were the untruths. I get in the ATV and I start driving it, scooping up some golf balls, and boom, 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 golf balls are smashing into this cage. They're hitting me every chance they get. They were like, oh, new guy, get him, fresh meat. And the cage is incredibly close to my face. They didn't leave a lot. It's a very jumpy situation, which only encourages them. So after a few weeks, I learned to not react, which was what you needed to do. Because once you could ignore them, took a little fun out of it for them, and they weren't quite so gung-ho. I'm out there one day doing it, and there's a guy on the range who must have been a professional golfer. And he is just hitting ball after ball after ball straight into the cage right at head level. Boom, 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 with incredible force. The balls are hitting the cage so hard that the balls are starting to get stuck in the links of the cage. And I'm worried that a ball is going to hit one of the balls, and it's going to ricochet it in and crack me in the skull. I look and he has 3 of them in a row. I was like, tic-tac-toe, man, stop. You won. Let's cut it. So it was unnerving, to say the least. And then I hear a moment of silence. I have a small reprieve. I'm like, he's gearing up. And I swear I heard the club slice through the air. I heard it smack loudly against the ball, and I heard the ball come whistling in like a nuclear missile in one of those 80s nuclear Holocaust movies. And I'm bracing, just waiting for the day after, And the ball hits the cage, and it hits the frame of the cage with this universe-shattering, loud ping of a noise, this horrible metallic sound. And I let go of the steering mechanism, and my little cart goes off course, and I have to grab it and jerk it back, and I put the brakes on, and I look at the guy. And I'm just a kid. I'm just a scared kid. And I'm thinking that this adult human will see that and maybe feel bad and say, sorry kid, my bad, I'll stop. But instead, he pumps his fist and lifts his knee like Tiger Woods. Yes! Getting a hole-in-one. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when I lost my temper. And I started to yell. And as I was yelling, I found myself pointing at him. only not so much at him as kind of up. Both hands, and not really using the traditional pointing finger. And a torrent of obscenity is flowing out of my mouth. I yelled every curse word that I knew, which was most of them, because we had cable. I was so mad, I called him a white guy. It's like, you white guy! You ever been so angry you forget your own ethnicity? And when I'm done spewing this filth at a customer, I look at the other golfers, wondering who's gonna have my back. And they all start laughing, and then they all start applauding, and then they all start raining golf balls down upon me. Every one of them. Just ball after ball after ball. The whole range focused on me with incredible speed. They were high-fiving each other. They were forming friendships. They were sending their children to the pro shop to get more buckets of balls so that they didn't have to stop. And these are just coming down on me. You know when there's a really bad hailstorm? How do they describe it? They say they were golf ball-sized pieces of hail. Well, these were golf ball-sized pieces of golf ball. This was my Vietnam, people. I still wake up in a cold sweat having nightmares from that experience. She's like, my wife's like, what is it? I was like, there are balls everywhere. She's like, the golf course or the other one? I was like, the golf course. The golf course. You see, I'm upset. And I couldn't even cut and run because I'd already cursed out a golfer. I knew I was in trouble. I wasn't going to get in more trouble by showing up back at the clubhouse without my baskets full of golf balls. So I'm driving back and forth trying to get enough golf balls. Luckily, they were supplying them. And then finally, I have enough, and I go pulling in, and I see my boss standing in my parking spot waiting for me. And I'm fired, I assume. My first job. I was so happy to finally have a job and I'm gonna get canned. I park and I start apologizing before I even open the cage door. Ed, I'm so sorry. I swing it open, I jump out. Listen, there was a guy out there. I think he's a professional. He was just whacking ball after ball right in my head. It was terrible. I won't let it happen again. And Ed says to me, Keith. What just happened out there, what you just did out there, on my range, on my watch, that was amazing. Can you do that every time? We've never rented so many buckets of balls in one afternoon, ever. I said, yeah, I can. And so that's what I tell people when they ask what my first showbiz gig was. Of course, I did still manage to get fired.